Hello, welcome to Secret Zone. Subscribe and turn on notifications for stories you won't forget. It didn't happen during a fight or in some dramatic argument. Happened in the quietest, most intimate moment. The kind of moment that's supposed to feel safe. The house was calm. Distractions gone. The kind of rare evening where two people finally slow down and remember why they chose each other. There was warmth, closeness, that familiar comfort built from shared routines and unspoken understanding. Nothing felt wrong. Nothing hinted at danger, and that's what made it so devastating when a single name slipped out, softly, almost carelessly, but clear enough to shatter everything. In that instant, time didn't rush forward, it stopped. The air felt heavier, like the room itself realized something irreversible had just happened. The body froze before the mind could even catch up, trying to process how one word could feel so out of place, so intrusive, like a stranger stepping into a private space, uninvited. At first, there was denial, that desperate hope that the ears were wrong, that the brain misfired, that intimacy can blur words sometimes. But denial doesn't last long when silence answers back. The closeness vanished, replaced by distance that felt wider than any argument ever could. What followed wasn't an apology or concern, it was irritation. Dismissal, a quick attempt to brush it away as nothing important. And that's when the real damage began, because mistakes can hurt, but indifference cuts deeper. That single moment planted a question that refused to stay quiet, a question that echoed long after the lights were off and sleep refused to come. This wasn't about jealousy or insecurity. It was about something feeling fundamentally wrong, like discovering a crack in a wall you once trusted to hold everything up. From the outside, the marriage looked normal, shared responsibilities, familiar routines, a life that functioned smoothly enough to never raise suspicion. There were no obvious warning signs, no dramatic changes, no loud secrets spilling into the open. Just everyday life, steady and predictable, the kind that makes you believe trust doesn't need to be questioned. But trust doesn't collapse all at once. It erodes quietly, starting with moments you're told not to take seriously. The more that night was minimized, the clearer it became that the truth wouldn't come through confrontation or anger. It would surface on its own, piece by piece, through observation, patience, and silence. That name wasn't a slibit, was a leak. A glimpse into thoughts that had been living somewhere else, long before that night. And once a hidden door cracks open, it never fully closes again. What began as confusion slowly transformed into clarity, not fueled by rage, but by calm awareness. The realization that something had been unfolding behind the scenes, carefully hidden beneath normal smiles and routine conversations. This story, ISNT, about a single word spoken at the wrong time, about what that word revealed, about how the smallest moments can expose the largest lies, and how sometimes the truth doesn't arrive screaming. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in intimacy, and changes everything forever. That night felt ordinary in the best way. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that only comes when responsibilities pause and nothing is demanding attention. We moved through the evening comfortably, without effort, like two people who knew each other well enough to exist without words. There was no tension, no distance, no hint that anything was wrong. I believed we were safe inside that calm. When we went upstairs, it wasn't about passion or excitement, it was about closeness, familiarity, and trust. The kind of trust that builds slowly over shared routines and silent understanding. Everything began gently. There was warmth, comfort, and that sense of being present together, not distracted or rushed. For once, it felt like we were aligned. That's why what happened next didn't just hurt, it stunned me. In the middle of that closeness, when nothing else existed, she whispered a name, Ethan. Not my name, a name that didn't belong in our space. It was quiet, almost careless, but unmistakably clear. My body reacted before my thoughts did. Everything froze. The moment shuddered instantly, like glass dropped on stone. Prometa pulled back, staring at her, hoping I had imagined it, hoping my mind had filled in something that wasn't real. But her reaction confirmed it. For a split second, her eyes widened, not in confusion, but in realization. She looked away quickly, as if avoiding my gaze could undo what had already happened. I asked her about it, keeping my voice calm even though my chest felt tight. She sighed, irritated, like I had interrupted something trivial. She brushed it off, told me I was overthinking, said it was nothing. That response hurt more than the name itself. There was no apology, no concern for how it landed. Just dismissal. I tried to explain that it mattered, that words, spoken in moments like that, carry weight. She turned away, ending the conversation as if my feelings were an inconvenience. Lying there afterward, staring into the darkness, I felt something shift deep inside me. Not anger, not jealousy. Awareness. A quiet understanding that something fundamental had cracked. That name hadn't slipped by. Accident it had surfaced. Because it already lived somewhere. It didn't belong. The next day life continued as if nothing had happened. She moved through the house casually, relaxed, even cheerful. Watching her felt strange, like observing someone through glass. I searched her expressions for guilt or hesitation, but found none. When I finally brought it up again, hoping for clarity, her response was the same, dismissive, impatient, annoyed that I wouldn't let it go. She insisted it was meaningless. People mix up names, she said. It happens. Her tone suggested I was creating a problem where none existed, but something in her behavior didn't match her words. She avoided eye contact. Her phone stayed close, always angled away. Conversations felt controlled, surface level. Like she was carefully managing what I could see. I stopped pushing. Not because I believed her, but because I realized confrontation wouldn't give me the truth. Silence would. I began paying attention instead. The small habits. The timing. The way her mood shifted when notifications appeared. The way she smiled at her screen and locked it quickly when I entered the room. Days passed like this. Outwardly calm. Internally focused. I wasn't emotional. I wasn't angry. I was observant. That name replayed in my mind, not as pain anymore, but as a signal, a warning I couldn't ignore. Then one evening, opportunity arrived without effort. A device she hadn't used in a long time was left behind. It wasn't locked. Messages appeared on the screen on their own. I didn't dig. I didn't search. The truth surfaced willingly. The conversation was there, clear and unmistakable. Familiar. Ton. Intimate language. Promises. Complaints about our life together. Plans disguised as fantasies. There was no ambiguity, no misunderstanding. The name from that night appeared again, woven through months of conversations. Strangely, I felt calm, not shattered, not sucked, just certain. Taname hadn't been a mistake, it had been exposure. I quietly documented what I saw, not out of revenge, but preparation. When she returned home, acting normal, I said nothing. The truth didn't need to be announced. It already existed. I didn't confront her. I didn't accuse or argue. I let her continue believing her performance was working. Meanwhile, I sought clarity elsewhere. Conversations with people who dealt in facts, not emotions. I learned what mattered and what didn't. What to document. What to protect. When she mentioned an upcoming trip, framed as routine and boring, I listened without reaction. Later, the same name appeared again, connected to that trip. Tetone wasn't secretive anymore. It was confident, comfortable. Like someone who believed the ending was already decided. That's when I made my decision. Quietly, carefully. Not out of anger, but self-respect. The day she left, I acted normally, wished her well. Watched her drive away. Then I moved with precision. I separated what was hers from what wasn't. No damage, no spite. Just boundaries. Arrangements were made efficiently. Locks changed. Deliveries scheduled. When she discovered what I had done, her reaction was explosive. Accusations, demands, disbelief. Primera sta yet. Calm. I didn't explain more than necessary. The truth didn't require justification. The fallout reached further than she expected. The other person's life unraveled too. Messages were exposed, lies cohesive. I didn't celebrate it. I simply stepped aside and let consequences do what they always do. She tried to rewrite the story publicly, casting herself as the victim. I stayed silent until silence became permission for lies. Then I corrected one detail, only one. That was enough. Screenshots spoke louder than emotions. Things escalated briefly, then collapsed inward. Legal conversations followed. Facts were presented. Evidence mattered. The calm approach held weight where arguments never could. Standing in that formal room later, listening to everything laid out clearly, I realized how far things had drifted long before that night. Tanami Wasanti. The beginning. It was the reveal. Decisions were made. Stability prioritized. Truth acknowledged. She looked at me like I was someone new. Maybe primera hua is. Life settled into something lighter. Quieter. Honest. The house felt peaceful again. Not because it was empty, but because it was real. No hidden messages. No guarded screens. No pretending. Sometimes I think back to that moment to whisper. The pause. The dismissal. That was the crossroads. One name slipped out, and with it came clarity I didn't ask for but needed. Trust doesn't break loudly. It fractures softly, and once you hear it, you can never pretend you didn't. In this home now, every word spoken belongs here. And that's enough. In the end, it wasn't anger that carried me forward, it was clarity. I didn't win by shouting, accusing, or begging for honesty. I won by listening to what was already being revealed. One name, spoken without thought, exposed a truth that had been living in silence for far too long. That moment hurt, yes, but it also freed me from doubt. It showed me that love without respect is just habit, and trust without truth is only an illusion. I learned that betrayal doesn't always arrive dramatically. Sometimes it slips in quietly, wrapped in familiarity, disguised as a small mistake you're told to ignore. But when something feels wrong, deep inside, it usually is. Ignoring it doesn't protect the relationship, it only protects the lie. Walking away wasn't easy, but staying would have meant betraying myself. Today, life feels calmer. Honest. There's no second-guessing words. No fear of what? S being hidden. No need to shrink feelings to keep the peace. I didn't lose everything that night. I gained my clarity, my dignity, and my future. And that matters more than holding on to something that was already gone. If this story teaches anything, it's this. Pay attention to the small moments. Sometimes, the truth doesn't scream. Sometimes, it whispers one name and changes everything. Thank you for watching.